Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. It is a victory. Happy Monday here. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com, where we are rejoined by special guest, a star of the Red Zone lot from yesterday, Mr. Lake Lewis. How are you doing on this fantastic, beautiful Victory Monday, sir?
Feeling good, man. You know, got a chance to witness a really nice win for a team that I thought it was going to be. At some point, it looked like we were going to be writing some other stuff, but they got the W, and it made everything great. And it was great catching up with you guys, too, seeing you guys out at the parking lot as well.
Yeah, and seeing the UK guys, for them to be able to experience the 28-22 victory for the first ever Commanders W here. It was a great day. But that being said, Lake, I got to get your opinion. What is the biggest takeaway that you have from yesterday's win?
Listen, I think the talent on the offense may have taken Scott Turner by surprise. I mean, obviously he knows what he has, but he kind of got away from it, you know, and they let Jacksonville stay around, you know, when they probably could have blown them out a lot earlier. So I think walking away from this game, there's a lot of offensive firepower. You saw what Jahan Dotson could do. We are, of course, you know, and then, of course, Terry McLaurin, the big play. Curtis Samuel was, you know, all over the field, 8 catches, you know, just doing his thing. Logan Thomas had one deep ball thrown his way, but didn't really get going. But you have to think, you bring back a guy, Brian Robinson, and, you know, get him healthy. You can bring him back. Cole Turner, another tight end weapon that you can bring back, you know, from injury. And you think of all these pieces. And, of course, Carson Wentz made throws that I haven't seen here in a long time.
Seriously.
You know, you put all this stuff together and get it going. It could be pretty special offensively here for them. So I walk away thinking that they have an offense potential to do some damage if they can get things going.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's almost like you just in the blink of an eye, it's almost like this offense, as far as a weapon, is just completely turned around because we've seen what they look like over the past couple of years, and this is a complete 180 from that. But coming into the offseason, I want to know what your opinion was on Carson Wentz. And then after yesterday's performance, he throws the 2 interceptions kind of back to back, and then just comes out, kind of shows that resiliency. And I'm not going to say put down all the rumors he had about him coming in, as far as like he's not really clutch, he's a bad teammate, guys don't really rally around him like that. And then obviously they released the after game speech with Carson in the locker room. Kind of what's your opinion after week 1 of that performance?
Man, you know, his performance was exactly what I've been seeing pretty much all off season. And it's, you have highs, you have lows. And it's just, you know, how can he manage the lows? You know, can he not let those things get in his head and stay in there? And yesterday, just one game, but still, it was the most important game that he's ever played here, you know. And he showed that. He showed that he can make some hell of a throws, you know, that he was putting on the field. But he also had a couple head scratchers as well. But if you look at the overall numbers, you know, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, the 2 interceptions were, yeah, they were tough, especially where, you know, when he threw them on that side of the field. On top of that, you know, almost cost him the game, but he made the plays that he needed to make at the end of the game. And he also showed that he had a little bit more mobility than I think a lot of people realize. You know, that he's smart and he knows when he has to take off and get some yards. He's smart enough to know when to get down, more importantly. But let's face it, guys, with the weapons that he has on the outside, he doesn't always have to make the perfect throw. He can just get guys the ball with the velocity that he has. He can get them balls in spaces where they can make plays after they catch the ball. We saw that a couple of times. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think it was a big win for him personally. You know, obviously you knew who was on the other side of the field coaching as well. Okay. So, you know, he wanted that win even more against Doug Peterson because let's face it, both of them are not in Philly because they couldn't make that thing work in Philly. So he's 1-0 right now.
It got to feel good for Carson after this entire offseason with the whole Jacksonville storyline about him flopping against them last year with the Colts. So shout out to Carson, shout out to his family. But let's flip it to the other side of the ball. This defense, of course, they had their moments, they had their big plays. Derek Forrest comes to mind. But what are some things that they need to improve on next week against the Lions to start off 2-0?
I mean, man, they got to get teams off the field on third down, bottom line. And they struggled with it in the preseason big time, and it carried over to yesterday. You know, there's too much talent for them to have these long, sustained drives going against them. And I also think from a scheme standpoint that they're going to have to do a better job and not have, you know, linebackers. And on one occasion, hell, I saw Montez Sweat, defensive lineman, covering a receiver across the middle of the field. I mean, you can't let offenses dictate to you where you're going to be out of position. That's just the bottom line. Ron Rivera said when he first came to Washington, he told us, he said, we're not going to let teams dictate to us. Well, we've seen teams dictate to them, and they're going to have to flip that script a little bit on defense where they dial up some pressure early. I mean, get quarterbacks not comfortable. Trevor Lawrence got comfortable in the second and third quarter. It just seemed like they couldn't get to him, or they were a second late. But then when they really started bringing more pressure, you know, pressure up the middle, pressure on the ends, it made a big difference in the outcome of the game. And you're right, Derek Forrest, to me, you know, game ball. He was all over the place yesterday, and you know, we know why he doesn't hit the field as much, because the guy that he was playing for a lot, Cam Curl, you know, should be back against Detroit. But I'm starting to think that Derek Forrest showed me some free safety capability out there, you know, as far as his eye to see things develop. I mean, the interception that he made, I haven't seen a lot of our safeties over the years make those kind of plays. So that was kind of Sean Taylor-ish a little bit, as far as to be able to cover the sideline and get over there and make the interception inbounds.
I like that.
That was a big time play for Derek Forrest.
The hit was too.
Yeah, it was.
The hit and the interception.
Yeah, it was a big time play. And I'm like, was he in? How did he catch that and stay in? So, you know, he showed the capabilities. And then, of course, the you know, what I thought was going to be a forced fumble, I think they called an incompletion on there, but he blew up Robinson on that play. I mean, or Travis Etienne. He blew him up on that play. So not only was he a guy that made plays, you know, as far as with his head out there, he was very physical, and that's a nice added bonus to a defense that has to find an identity. I think that's the one thing that they're missing. They just don't know what is their identity. Are we going to, you know, be a team that knocks guys out of games? Are we going to be a team that's fast? I just think that there's too much talent on their defense to not have that identity yet.
Absolutely. Right. And then one of the biggest losses from yesterday was big man Fedarian Mathis going out. And so give us an update with some of these injuries. Jonathan Allen went out. It looked like a groin injury. If you can, like, what's the latest from Ashburn with some of these injuries?
Well, I think John Allen's going to be okay. You know, with Fedarius, you know, until we know further what's going on, you know, it looked more like a hyperextension, anything else. So, you know, as far as a break or anything like that, I didn't hear anything by the time I left the stadium. But that's definitely an unfortunate injury for him, just from the standpoint that, you know, they have high hopes for him. And he's shown glimpses throughout training camp in the preseason that he can be a dominant football player at times. And you would like to think from a rotational standpoint, they need that rotation, because remember, there's no Tim Settle, there's no Matt Ioannidis, you know, so that kind of beef that you need, so to speak, in the middle of the field, you know, it's just interesting because now it puts more pressure and more onus on Daron Payne, you know, and you got to feel a little way that if you're Daron Payne, I mean, I'm not speaking for him by any means, but you would naturally think that he feels a little way about them drafting Mathis. So now you kind of have to go back to the guy that you perhaps alienated a little bit. So it's just going to be interesting to see how that plays itself out on top of that. So hopefully Daron and the team can just be professional and keep it going.
Do you think Cam Curl is going to be able to play this weekend against the Lions?
I think so. I think so. You know, he was moving pretty good on the sidelines, cheering for his teammates. You know, I know it's totally different from being in pads on the field, But I think that they mentioned Ron Rivera actually had mentioned that there's optimism that he can be ready. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed and hope that he can suit up against Detroit. They're gonna need him. Especially with what they like to do with Detroit's offense. So I think he would be a key piece to help stop Detroit's offense.
Yeah, definitely a key matchup between him and DeAndre Swift coming out the backfield, I think. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned Derek Forrest, you mentioned Curtis Samuel, guys that were kind of got the spotlight on him that showed out yesterday. Who's the guy that you think that deserves to get a little bit of spotlight that not a lot of people are really talking about because of the bigger names getting all the shine?
But I'm biased, man. I'm gonna go with Jahan. I'm a Penn State guy, so I just kept telling people all training camp, all off season. I used to broadcast up there 2 years ago, back at Penn State with a good friend of mine, Blair Thomas, and Quintus McDonald. So got a chance to see Jahan, and I'm telling you, I kept saying, not just this year, but I kept saying before that, there's something about this guy that he makes plays every time he hits the field. From in college, he was returning punts too. I mean, he was doing everything. And Penn State didn't necessarily have the best quarterback group over the last couple years, and he still was, they were double teaming him. I remember him going up against Ohio State a couple of times. They had All-American corners, and he would just eat on them. It was nothing they could do. And I kept saying to myself, I wonder what he would look like with a big arm quarterback, a guy that could get him the ball all over the field. Because the one thing about Jahan is he has a great route tree. Like, this guy runs routes like a seasoned veteran.
Yeah.
And I keep comparing him. I tell everybody, he to me is Odell Beckham. That's who he reminds me of, as far as, you don't know how fast he is, but you'll notice he gets behind everybody, catches everything and anything near him. Now, all of that was evident on the last play. The route that he ran shook up his D-back, and the catch he made, the adjustment he made to get to the ball, even though basically D-back had his back turned. I mean, everything that you want in your receiver was on display right there. So I think his name is going to start being mentioned quite a bit with Terry. From a potential standpoint, there's just as much potential as what Terry has, if not more. And that's the truth. I mean, so right now you got to love the all Big Ten receiving corps, the trio that they have right now. I mean, Curtis Samuel's going to get you a lot of plays going down the field. Terry's going to be able to make some big plays because he can't be double teamed every play now. And then Jahan's going to sneak up on you and make a catch on you where you just didn't see. Where was the speed that got him so open? You're going to see all these things. So he stood out. And, I think the offensive line has to be given some love too, because they really held up and did what they were supposed to do. And they had an injury. Schweitzer went out,
They had a rotation of guards.
Absolutely. They had their fair share of nicks and bruises on the line too, and they still kept coming. And I think Scott Turner was actually surprised because he kind of abandoned the run. And then late in the fourth quarter, when they needed to get down the field, there were a couple runs with J.D. McKissick, one with Curtis Samuel. And he was like, we can run the football. So they don't have to just wait, for Brian Robinson to come back in order to run the football. I know Antonio, there's a little bit of, sometimes you hold your breath when he runs the ball because of the fumble issues. But he ran the ball angry in the fourth quarter yesterday. And it seemed like as he got lathered up, he got more comfortable. So don't abandon the run, especially not with these receivers you have now. They can do some damage.
Absolutely, Lake. Now, to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you. First one I want to ask you, Scott Turner, his play calling, that was one of my biggest emphasis going into this game, and I thought that he did a masterful job. He didn't force Antonio Gibson to be the in-between tackles kind of running back. He was able to get him out in space where he's actually can be utilized and excel. And what did you think of Scott Turner's play calling yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I would have given him an A+ performance as far as his game that he put together. But once they got out of the script that was working for them in the first quarter, let's call it like it is. Every team has their script, their set amount of plays that they practice, and it works. And if it's working great, it looks awesome. But what happens when the defense adjusts? And Jacksonville adjusted, and I didn't see Washington adjust. I actually tweeted it out, and it wasn't to be harsh, but I just said, since this new regime's been here, they haven't adjusted too well when teams have adjusted to them. Well, it seemed like they did go back to the drawing board and figure some things out. And what that was, you know what? They're figuring out our deke and dunk, because let's face it, those 2 interceptions that Carson Wentz threw, those were guys jumping the ball underneath because they knew that that's what they kept doing. So the adjustment was, let's go up over top of you. And it was there every time. This game should not have been as close as it was. A win's a win. You take them. Everybody's happy. I'm happy covering it. But they could have beat this team by 20 points or more. They could have put them out of their misery early. Jacksonville was waving the white flag, man, in the second quarter. And then all of a sudden, he just gave them life. So I think this is a learning experience for Washington. It's a good experience because you may not have close games all the time now. I mean, with this offensive firepower, if the defense can get it together too, you have your fair share of blowouts coming here. And it's going to be nice to see that for once.
Yeah, my next question for you, Lake, it's going to be rapid fire, but I want to get your positional grades for each position, not like right guard, right tackle type of thing, but
Gotcha.
Quarterback, what is your position grade for Wentz?
I'm giving Carson a B+. It could have been an A-. Those 2 interceptions were bad throws, but overall he performed well and showed a lot of resiliency and moxie. So I'm gonna say B+, but it was kind of an A-.
I got you. I like it. Running back.
I'm going to give the running backs a B+ as well. Antonio Gibson made some plays out the backfield, catching the ball, got the touchdown. J.D. McKissick did his thing as always. There were a couple holes that could have been hit a little harder, so I'm going to give them a solid B+ as well. They did well.
Wide receivers, I mean, this should be easy.
That's an A+. I'm giving them an A+. I mean, they've shown that they have a trifecta that can really cause some problems for D-backs because they're shifty. They can make plays after they catch, and you don't know who's going to get the ball. So I'm giving them an A+.
I wholeheartedly agree. Tight end.
Bates had the one bad drop, Logan Thomas didn't get going. But I think it's because of the receivers playing so well. So I'm gonna give the tight ends a B-, and that's because they did open up some holes from the blocking standpoint. So it wasn't just about catching; it was about neutralizing Jacksonville's front four at times, and they did their own. So I'm gonna give them a B-, maybe a C+.
Yeah, I think you're being generous at the B-, but yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Offensive line.
Okay. Man, listen, offensive line really did a good job in that football game. To have an A in anything means you were just outstanding. And, there were times where Carson Wentz took some heat, there were times they were in the backfield disrupting the run game. So I'm going to say the offensive line, I'm giving a B- to.
Okay. With defensive line.
Listen, they were all over Trevor Lawrence for a lot of the game. They just could not get at one more step. They would have had maybe 5-6 sacks. So I'm going to give the defensive line. I thought they were the best part of the defense by far yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to give the defensive line a B, a solid B, maybe a B+. They still got to finish those plays. If you can get to them, make that extra step. You're looking really vaunted. So I like what I saw, especially. Even with John Allen coming out, I still like what I saw. Casey Toohill, a lot of guys were in it. They were doing their thing. So let me change that grade, and I'm going to give the defensive line a B+.
There we go. I like that a lot. Linebacker.
Obviously it's not the strength of the team, but Jamin Davis made some plays. I mean, he did.
Had a sack that was called back.
Absolutely. Yeah. He made some plays. He had a couple nice hits, on running backs coming out. I mean, it was not bad. Clearly it can be better, but I'm going to give the linebackers, I'm going to give them a B- for this game because, there were times where the running game gashed them, where they got out in spaces, but you got to keep in mind, man, Travis Etienne and James Robinson, that's a nice tandem. And Etienne is one of the fastest guys in the league. People have to understand that. Right. So, for Davis and those guys to be covering them out the backfield, I don't know if I like that, but they had to do it, and they did an adequate job. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to give the linebacking core, I'm going to give them a B-.
I like that. Okay, now the last three, you could do it all at once. Defensive backs, special teams, and coaching.
Man, defensive backs real quick. I like what I saw. I mean, William Jackson didn't have his best game. He just didn't. I mean, he still got to figure this thing out. They were getting beat a lot down the field, especially early and often. But I like what I saw on the back end of the defense a couple of times. I mean, they had some big plays given up to them too. So I think D back wise, I'm gonna go C+. I think Derek Forrest kind of bumped that grade up for me. But overall, they have to play better, and they should play better. As far as special teams, I mean, what can you ask for? I mean, you didn't have to punt too much, right. But your kicker made his kicks, to count it. So I'm going to give special teams a B-. As far as coaching, I'm gonna go B- here because they started off with an A as far as what was working. I still think Jack Del Rio's got to figure out some stuff on defense. They have too much talent to be giving up these kind of yards consistently. Breakdowns in the secondary. I mean, guys have been in the system now for more than a year. It shouldn't be happening. Okay, Cam Curl comes back, then we can see if that's what one of the issues were. And I could accept that if that's the case. They did make the adjustments that we were skeptical that they weren't able to make. They made them. And so you got to give them credit. You got to tip your hat for that. So overall, I'm going to give the coaching staff a B- as well.
I like it a lot, Lake. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know we went a little bit over the time limit, but, I just love these grades. I wanted to get your opinion on it. I can't thank you enough being the CEO of Sports Journey. Obviously, you are very, very busy altogether, but I can't thank you enough for joining us for this Victory Monday, sir.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. It's good seeing you guys. And hopefully in 2 weeks, we get a chance to wrap it up, talk it up again, and get another W.
Absolutely, sir.
Yes,
Have a good night, Lake.
Thank you, Lake.
Appreciate it.
All right, you guys take care. Great show,
all right,
man.
Brother. Thank you, brother.
Okay.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Lake Lewis.
I couldn't agree more with his grades. I think he was a very fair grader on that. I wish he was one of my teachers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, let's get into our fan questions before we are joined by our next guest. This question is from my guy, Aki G, on Twitter. He DM'd me this. Who is your guys' defensive MVP of the game?
I will go with Montez Sweat. I know the flashy name would be Derek Forrest just because he got the pick. He was all over the field making plays. He got the crucial hit. He made all the splash plays, but Montez was out there doing the dirty work. I think he had like 5 pressures, a couple hits on Trevor Lawrence. Like Lake Lewis said, they didn't finish it all together, but he was definitely back there disrupting Trevor Lawrence, making him uncomfortable throughout the whole 4 quarters of the game. So he will get my defensive MVP.
To be honest, Aki G, I know the easy answer would be Derek Forrest for everybody, but I'll say Jack Del Rio. Going into this game, I thought they needed to do a good job of being able to contain Trevor Lawrence in the pocket, and they did a great job with the quarterback read option RPO style offense. They nulled that out quickly, and then they kept Trevor Lawrence in the pocket all game long. And when the game mattered the most, when they needed to get off the field, they did. So it's all the defense all together, but I'll say Jack Del Rio. His game plan, I thought they did a very good job because early on they were getting picked apart in the passing game, and they made some changes there. There was a hiccup here and there, but I thought the game planning from Jack Del Rio was phenomenal.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to take the low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to do it. And it's Derek Forrest stepping in there, making that big hit. I mean, that hit. But I agree with I think it could have been called a fumble. I think it definitely could have, but they reviewed it. It is what it is. And it was just huge. Flashbacks to Sean Taylor was wearing no gloves. It was just a nice hit. And then of course the game-winning interception. You saw how much ground he covered. He impressed, and I think that having an enforcer like that in the secondary, I think could really benefit this team a lot. I think with the defensive line being as physical as they are, and then having 2 freaks of nature at linebacker, and then having somebody who could enforce on defense come up and lay down some lumber, I think that could be huge.
I agree with you there. Now, Reed, I want to keep this with you. The next question is from Tim Towner, who DM'd me on Twitter. What were you most surprised by? You could be a good surprise or a bad surprise or both if you want to do it, Reed.
So I want to say, I'm going to go with I want to say Carson being Carson, but at the same time, it's not really a surprise. Like we knew what Carson was going into it, but I'm going to say just how often they got Curtis Samuel involved early on. You see Terry got the huge contract. Jahan was the first pick ever by the Washington Commanders, but they made it a point to get Curtis Samuel involved early on, and people always forget about him when they're talking about when they're talking about the wide receivers. They always mention Terry, Jahan, but Curtis Samuel made it known that he's going to be an important part of this offense. He's going to do everything, like we've been saying all offense or all offseason. You saw him run the ball, you saw him get the ball early on short passing plays, and he scored the first touchdown ever as a Washington Commander. So Curtis Samuel, man.
Yeah, when I went on AWOD's show a couple weeks ago, I said, Curtis Samuel is going to be used heavily in that short to medium range, making it comfortable for Carson Wentz in those third down situations, and that's Curtis Samuel showed up in that regard without a doubt. What do you got, Hall?
Yeah.
I would just like to state for the record that I've been saying all offseason that Curtis Samuel was going to come out week 1 and show people what they've been missing from last year.
Didn't you say he would score the first touchdown as a Commander?
I said he would get the first touchdown as a Commander.
There you go.
There you
bang,
go.
Bang.
Now the good for me, I'll say the surprise.
Ostradamus.
The surprise for me, honestly, because the fact that they started out so well, right? They go down, they stopped them, and they were able to stop them with 3 points, right? We're kind of looking at it like, dang, this is messed up. Carson Wentz and his offense comes down the field and they score a touchdown immediately. That was very surprising. But the biggest surprise to me, Tim, is the third down percentage for each team. The offensive side of the ball was 7 of 10, 70% on third down. Defensively, they were 3 of 12. They kept them to 40% there on third down against that offense. That was huge, and that's exactly what this defense needed. And I was very surprised with how many blitz calls were used against Trevor Lawrence, because typically it's kind of like a sit-back quarters type of defense. They sent Benjamin St-Juste. You remember that one grounding that was huge on that long third down? Benjamin St-Juste was on a blitz on that play. Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb were constantly in the backfield as well. So I really was surprised by how the defense showed up and how the offense executed on third down and the defense executed on third down even better.
Yeah, one negative I was surprised about, and like during the offseason, we heard all the reports that William Jackson seemed more comfortable. I remember going back to his press conference. He just seemed like a lot more comfortable, a lot more just lively, and like seemed like he was like ready to have a bounce back year. Obviously, it's only one game. It's only week 1. But I was surprised that he was just letting Zay Jones like just beat him like a drum, basically, honestly, a lot of that game. And I think I even mentioned to Kyle at one point, I was like, is it me or is it like Zay Jones just like giving it to William Jackson every time they line up against each other?
In his defense, I'll say the game
they're
plan.
Playing zone.
The game plan was to limit them and force them up, and it wasn't until Bobby McCain got injured that's when they tested us over top of Christian Kirk. The whole game they were not going deep. And that's kind of that's what happens. You don't give up the deep balls, so you allow the small stuff. And
I don't know. I just expected. I guess I just expected more. Even like William Jackson, his strength isn't like zone. Yeah. Like I said, I just expected more because it's his second year in the system. He felt like he said himself he's a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable with all the calls and being made and stuff like that. So, just look, like you said, it's week 1 and it is what it is. He had some bad games last year. He had some good games. So I feel like it'll be an up and down thing. So hopefully he gets that corrected against Detroit.
No, you're absolutely right. And look, he's not perfect by any stretch, but look, it's going to come for William Jackson. I feel like that interception from last year where he dives out of nowhere, flying across the field, catching it. That sort of thing is going to come up from William. I think also give credit to Zay Jones. The guy is a dang good football player, man. I've been saying to everyone he's the number 1 wide receiver in Jacksonville, and he showed you why yesterday. Now we are joined by our next guest, the best from Pro Football Focus, Mr. Nick Akridge. How are you doing, sir, on this beautiful Victory Monday?
I'm good, man. Always better on Victory Monday.
Yeah, dude, except for my voice. My voice is that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, looking good is saying something for the amount of work I've had to do these past couple weeks, man. Football's all the way back, and Jesus, I don't leave this office.
Absolutely, Nick.
So use my name in vain, but all right, here we go.
My first question I have for you, you uploaded earlier the biggest, most points, or Pro Football Focus's ratings, the highest of the Commanders. So if you can, give us a kind of recap of those players.
Yeah, so the 3 highest was, the first one was very obvious, was Derek Forrest. Absolutely incredible game. Next highest was Deron Payne and then Antonio Gibson. They were both in the 76 range, but Derek Forrest was over 90. And right now that's the highest graded safety that we have in the NFL from yesterday. So
holy crap.
Yeah, he was
under the
everywhere.
Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Forced fumble, 2 PDs, and then an interception. It's a pretty damn good game.
And then he was laying the lumber as well. So it was like
Yeah.
all facets of the game were working for Derek Forrest yesterday, and we needed it.
Yep, definitely.
It's Hall frozen right now.
Hall, you're frozen. Reed, go.
So how did these 3 wide receivers grade? I think everybody was super impressed by them. Jahan Dotson, of course, the only rookie in the NFL to catch a touchdown. He caught 2 of them, including the game winner.
Yeah, the receiving grades were a little bit low, which was a little surprising to me. But when you kind of look at Jahan Dotson, he only had 3 catches. Obviously, that game-winning one was massive, and that's huge. But 3 catches and about 40 routes run isn't going to give you the highest grade, but who really cares when you score a game-winning touchdown like that? Terry McLaurin wasn't featured very much, and I don't know if that was because he was getting shut down, which is not very likely because it's Terry, or Carson was just missing him. So I got to go back and watch that. But
I'll
the
tell
wide
you right
receiver
now,
grades
Nick,
were
they were bracketing him on every single play. Number 5, the
that makes
safety.
sense.
When you rewatch it, you'll see whatever side
Andre
Terry's on,
Cisco.
number 5 would rotate over, and they were bracketing him all day long. I said at the Hall, dude, please just press it because I feel like it's gonna happen. And it did.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Curtis Samuel had a great game. If he didn't have that fumble, he would have been up in the top 3 grades, probably in the 80, 85 range. But that fumble kind of killed his grade. But no, it was awesome to see Curtis Samuel involved, and that's kind of exactly what you thought he was going to do last year when he came here. And a healthy Curtis Samuel is an incredible addition to the offense.
Not kidding.
Oh yeah, 100%. You mentioned AG, and he was graded in the top 3 as far as PFF grades. Just what do you think about his game yesterday and him finally getting used in the pass game and getting out in space and making plays?
Yeah, no, I like when they use him in the pass game. Go back to his days at Memphis there. I got to dig in more to see how he was, like, kind of reading the run game and stuff like that. But no, it was a classic Antonio Gibson game, just kind of getting involved everywhere, and no fumbles. And that's really the only thing that matters is no fumbles. So that's always a good day for Gibson.
Yeah, that catch that Gibson had on the Curtis Samuel touch opening drive was absolutely just beautiful. My goodness. Right over the DB, Antonio gets 2 feet in and catches in the air. Oh, that was beautiful.
Dime by Wentz as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He had a few.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he
Perfect
did.
Carson Wentz game.
It was the epitome of a Carson Wentz game. Those 2 interceptions, all my family was texting me. They're like, "This is," I'm like, "This Carson. He has 3 of those a game. Don't worry, it'll be all right."
And I think Ron Rivera said it perfectly afterwards. He said he needs antacids now because of that game.
No, I mean, I tweeted, I was like, everyone warned you about Carson Wentz, and they you just get ready, but you never actually know until you're finally rooting for him as your quarterback, and that was an absolute roller coaster.
Yeah, and then obviously, Nick, you could tell by my voice that Hall and I were at the game yesterday, but I want to get your opinion. I'm sure you watched it on TV. But the stadium, I mean, it seemed like it felt like home again. It felt like we actually had a home field advantage, and it was weird to see, but it was absolutely awesome. But how was it from a TV perspective?
I mean, it looked good. It sounded good. Obviously, you can't see the whole crowd on TV, but no, it sounded pretty good. I had a buddy of mine that went. He said it was a pretty good experience. But yeah, I mean, pretty impressive for a rainy, disgusting day outside. I mean, at least it wasn't Chicago. That was a nightmare. But
what was up with that, by the way? Something happened with their drainage?
There was something called rain. Yeah.
No, but their drainage, something has to be wrong with their drainage.
No, and the field was
bad.
There was like an inch of water on the field.
That was the game that I had to grade live, and that was a nightmare. I mean, I felt so bad for those quarterbacks. People are going to make hot takes about those guys.
Yeah.
They couldn't hold on to the football. They couldn't throw it. But yeah, no, it wasn't as bad as that one, but it was kind of cool to see. It sounded like it was rocking again.
No, absolutely. Yeah. My next question I have for you, Logan Thomas, he came back and he proved to be pivotal at important times for this team. How impressed were you with Logan?
Yeah, I mean, it was just good to see him back. Just kind of playing again, playing 48 snaps. It's all you can really ask for. And he came back healthy. Nothing. I haven't heard anything about that so far. And it's just a solid game and kind of the tight end that you kind of envisioned that you would get this year. And it's just good to see him healthy.
I always forget how frustrating it is to watch somebody wearing one of those big bulky knee braces, and it took me all the way back to the RG3 era, and that was a little frustrating.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, Logan Thomas was a quarterback in college.
Did you know that? Oh my God, was it? Thank you so much. Oh yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I don't know if you knew that.
So earlier we talked about Montez Sweat. Now we felt he actually had a pretty good game. What did you see from him? Was he getting back there to Trevor? I know he didn't have a sack, but he seemed to constantly be up in there applying pressure.
Yeah, dude was balling. I mean, his grade doesn't show it, but I mean, I'm just looking at kind of like our raw grades and the amount of positive grades we gave him, and it's pretty damn impressive. Grade probably doesn't show it as much because they threw the ball quite a bit, so it's hard to kind of get a high grade when they're throwing the ball like 50 plus times. But no, he was utilizing that long arm bull rush. I tweeted about it that Ryan Kerrigan just absolutely loved. Seeing him do that is awesome because if he can put that in with his athleticism, it's going to be scary. Daron Payne was great. Jonathan Allen, those three were just eating again, which makes you I can't wait for Chase Young to come back to have all four of those guys healthy, just getting after the quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is going to be sore because he was getting crushed by Payne and Allen. Like that's 300 pounds you do not want falling on you.
Well, Kyle might. Kyle really likes that. I've heard.
Wow. No, yeah, Payne had a beast of a game too. I definitely was wow. He definitely had this. He caught my eye a couple times on the field.
He wore 2 different colored shoes. Little known fact about
that
Daron
might
Payne
be why
yesterday.
he caught my eye.
Yeah. Probably.
Another guy that obviously has been talked about all off season. Hopefully, everyone hoped that he was going to take that big next like sophomore jump. Was Jamin Davis? What was his grade yesterday, and what did you see from him?
We have him with a 45.9 right now, and that's mostly because it looks like he was getting picked on in coverage. 29.3 coverage grade, gave up 4 catches on 6 targets, which probably explains that. But no, I got to watch again. The run defense grade was 76.1, so that's encouraging to see. But I think he was just getting picked on a little bit in coverage, and I don't know. He looked really good in preseason. He looked like a different Jamin Davis, but yeah. I got to rewatch again. I've been way too busy this Monday to dive in the all 22 yet, but once I do, I'll post some stuff.
Yeah, let me know what you think about that play to Christian Kirk that was across the middle after the big loss of yardage. It was like a 2nd and 20, if I'm not mistaken. Christian Kirk comes out of the slot, runs around Jamin. It looked like to me they were in quarters coverage, so that means that only him and Cole Holcomb are in the middle there, and if you have Christian Kirk one-on-one, I mean, he's going to win that every time.
Yeah, that means they're usually sending some sort of fire zone there, and they're going to have to ask them to carry up the seam. But yeah, usually if you're getting targeted, a linebacker on a slot receiver like that, you're just kind of praying that the blitz gets home. You're not really expecting him to kind of win that one.
Right.
So
now, Nick, to wrap this up, in the last couple questions for you, we got Detroit coming up this week. Obviously, they played against Philly. You haven't watched film on them or anything. Obviously, they've had hard knocks. What is your opinion heading into this game against Detroit? Are you encouraged? Are you feeling better than you did yesterday morning?
I feel the exact same. Honestly, this team is going to be an absolute roller coaster, and it's just going to be led by Carson Wentz. So you don't know what you're going to get. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. The Lions don't do anything but play close games now.
Yeah,
they play hard for Dan Campbell. I think it's a similar sort of coaching matchup in that their players absolutely love their coach. Now, there could be some questions about, the coach's success so far, but they love playing for the guy, and they play hard for him, and they always keep it close. Always, always, always. I love betting on the Lions because of that. They love keeping it close. But so I think it's gonna be a close game, and it's always gonna come down to Carson. And if we get enough good Carson, we get more good Carson than bad Carson, then hopefully we get to be 2-0.
I can't remember the last 2 times teams have played the number 1 overall pick the first week and then the number 2 overall pick the second week. So I'm gonna go back and look that up. But I'm just thinking out loud.
Those weird tidbit questions, right?
Yeah. It's like one of those CBS facts or at Fox ones that they throw on the screen.
Right.
They're like, Carson Wentz was born in 1982. And you're like, what?
So Nick,
Logan Thomas.
Only quarterback. Logan Thomas was a quarterback at Virginia Tech.
The first game of the season's here, so we're going to be giving out our game beers here soon. So I'm not going to make you pick 3. Just one. Who's getting your game beer for the game yesterday?
I'll go with Daron Payne. I thought he was extremely, extremely impressive and constantly harassing Trevor Lawrence. I think the easy pick would have been Carson Wentz, but those picks scared me a little bit too much, so I'm going to go Daron Payne.
And last thing, am I the only one that has noticed the change of the snap counts in crucial situations and how important they are?
Yes.
I think you might have been the only one to notice that. Because I didn't notice it.
I didn't know.
Dude, especially in the fourth quarter, there was at one point that we had to get at the first down. It was like 3rd and 5 or something, and they were able to get the second snap count, get the offsides, and move the chains. It was crucial on many downs yesterday.
Yep.
But last one I have for you, the uniforms. What did you think of them?
Okay.
We ever going to see Burgundy?
Don't hate me for this.
I know you don't care.
And I know I might get some hate for this. I personally, as a fan, I like the jerseys. As someone who works for PFF, I can't stand them because those numbers, when the sunlight hits it, you can't see those numbers. It makes it so much harder for us to do our job when those numbers are like that. The kind of gradient look that those numbers have. The Falcons have the same thing at times. It's a mess for us. But as a fan, I absolutely love them. I can't wait to get a jersey. But as a PFF employee, we hate those types of teams. So I will just say that. As a PFF employee, no. As a fan, yes.
Tis. Jason Wright, you did all this resourcing. You never asked PFF what they thought.
Nope, never asked us once. If he would have asked us, we would have gone white, black numbers, make them big and bold so we can see it easily, no flash, nothing.
Take off the last names on the jersey, you're fine.
No, we need the last names too, because especially in college, when you have college people,
right.
Oof.
Oh, I bet that sucks. Yeah,
it's
college, especially now with the new number system where like wide receivers can wear single digits and stuff. Like I feel like that's got to be a pain in the ass too.
Yes, it is.
Expecting quarterbacks,
very much so.
All right, Nick. Before you get out of here, last one. What is one thing going forward Washington has to fix or correct or do better at?
Secondary, it was bad.
Okay.
Kendall was getting torched. William Jackson wasn't great. Derek Forrest played incredible, like we mentioned, but. Yeah, the two corners were not great. They were kind of picking on Fuller, which scares me a little bit. Got to see the film to really kind of get too scared about it, but yeah, not great so far for the secondary.
I'm glad to hear that. You have to build on it. You know, this is a win, but you have to build on it. Nick, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. I hope you have a good night, and until next time.
Appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, boys. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Pro Football Focus, Nick Akridge.
He's always so good.
Dude,
thank you for telling us that Logan Thomas was a quarterback.
Derek Forrest getting a 91.5 Pro Football Focus grade, highest on the team, and the highest of any safety in the NFL so far. My goodness.
Yeah. DJ Swearinger vibes with that one.
Absolutely. Guys, let's move on to our game beers, okay? So we give out our game beers after every game to somebody who worked their butt off, deserves to go home, sit on a recliner, kick their feet up, and enjoy themselves a game beer.
We're not actually sending them beers, though.
No, we're not. So we're picking 3 people each. So, Reed, how about you start us off? Who is getting your game beer?
After looking at my list, I have all 3 of the low-hanging fruits that I picked there. I really put a lot of thought into this. I'm going to go with Derek Forrest, number 1. I mean, we talked about it. Obviously, the highest-graded safety in the NFL yesterday. The huge hit and the interception to seal the game. Shout out to his family. He deserves a nice, tall glass of a non-alcoholic beer.
All right, and for me, I'm going to go with Scott Turner. Early last week, we were kind of talking about Antonio Gibson, and I didn't think the pressure was on Gibson. I thought the pressure was on Scott Turner to be able to use Gibson in the passing game, be creative in that kind of sense, and I thought Scott Turner hit the nail on that. Not only did he hit the hammer on the top of the nail, dude, he sent that down into the center of the earth with how good of a game plan that he had against the Jaguars, using all of his assets. I mean, Curtis Samuel running the ball in the fourth quarter on that last game-winning touchdown drive, that dive play where they get a first down immediately after Logan Thomas stretches after getting the third down pickup. I thought the play calling was absolutely beautiful. It was in rhythm with Carson and everyone else. The fact that the offense was able to churn out the points that they got. Scott Turner, my man, you impressed. Enjoy yourself a game beer, sir.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, you mentioned the guy that I'm going to give a game beer to. It's my guy. It's been my guy since day one, Antonio Gibson. You mentioned there wasn't a lot of pressure on him, but I feel like if he would have came out and had just like a mediocre game or fumbled the ball, you already know how the storyline would have been. The headlines would have been, oh, Antonio Gibson fumbles again, right. And, oh, we can't wait to get Brian Robinson back. What's the running game going to do? What's it going to look like? So I'm happy that he came out and had 120 yards total. Did I freeze?
No. Yeah, your face did, but we can hear you.
Oh, I was like, damn it. Yeah, so 120 yards total. And, yeah, just was running the ball really hard, running north and south instead of kind of just east-west type of thing. And then, as everyone already mentioned before, he didn't fumble the ball. So, AG, kick your feet up and enjoy that cold brewski.
Now, who's your second game beer, Hall?
Second game beer is going to be a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, but is a team captain, and that's my guy, our guy, Charles Leno Jr. Out there, didn't give up any sacks, any pressures yesterday. The anchor of the left side and one of the guys that's, like I said, team captain, and didn't give up many sacks, any pressures, and just came out there and was aggressive and balled out against Trayvon Walker and the rest of that defensive line.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Who's getting your next game beer, Reed?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with the young guy. I don't even know if he's old enough to drink. I'm gonna assume that he is, and that is going to be Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, baby. Not only the only rookie wide receiver to catch a touchdown yesterday, he caught 2 of them. That's right, he caught 2 of them, and including the game-sealing touchdown, which was a beautiful catch. I mean, the guy. Of course, he didn't have a lot of yards, only had 3 catches, but both of them won for scores, including the game stealer. You got to give it to the Rook, baby. And he can have a nice tall glass of Natty Light if he so chooses, I guess, because he's fresh out of college. That's what they drink. So
That's fresh out of. How do you know that, Reed?
my next one got drafted.
My next one is Curtis Samuel. The way that he was utilized early in that game, he was so important. He was stretching, being able to third down runs and the pass plays. There was a shallow crosser where he spins out of it, jukes a guy out of his shoes, be able to pick up the first down, getting the first touchdown in Commanders history. A lot of questions, a lot of smack has been said about Curtis Samuel. I went into the season saying I had no expectations. Whatever we get from him is the cherry on top. And my goodness, what a Sunday did he deliver playing yesterday. 8 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown, 4 rushes on 17 yards. So 8 receptions on 11 targets. That's very, very good. Curtis Samuel, enjoy yourself a nice, cold, fresh brewski, my friend. What about you, Reed? Start us off with your last one.
Ooh, my last one. I'm not gonna lie. He almost gave us a heart attack. But if it wasn't for this guy, we wouldn't have won that game yesterday. And that is Mr. Offseason himself, young roller coaster Carson Wentz. Look, he started out brilliant, and it was just the epitome of a Carson. It was just the epitome of a Carson Wentz game. The guy, he looked fantastic at times. I mean, James, stop, Jesus, stop pulling on that. There's only so many throws that this guy cannot make, and you saw his entire arsenal yesterday. That deep pass to Terry, the touchdown pass to John, and of course, then you also saw the 2 interceptions, which were just like head scratchers, and they were frustrating. But for him to be on the sideline, and allegedly he was slapping the ground, and Ron Rivera said, "It's all right, now you got to go win us the game." And he said, "I will." And he went out there, and what did he do? He won us the game, got the demons, got the monkey off of his back after all the off-season stuff with what happened against Jacksonville last year. Shout out to Carson Wentz. I don't know if you drink, sir, but you're drinking a pint to this.
Yeah. Dude, that pass to Terry was absolutely beautiful because they were bracketing the safety over top. So the safety was always over top. That's why they never could get the ball to Terry. But at one point, Wentz was just like, I'm going to test it. I don't think that safety's getting over there. And he put that ball in a perfect spot where it's ahead of the DB who's trailing Terry, but it's so far out wide that the safety who's coming over top doesn't have enough space to be able to impact the catch, where Terry just walks into the end zone, which is a tap on his body.
Only Terry could get it in stride.
Right. Absolutely
right over
perfect.
His outside shoulder.
Perfect football. Absolutely. So, yeah, Carson Wentz getting one is absolutely deserved. My last one is Jack Del Rio. Gotten a lot, star of the offseason, you could say. Absolutely beautiful game plan. They held the Jaguars offense to 3 for 12 on third down and 2 of 5 in the red zone. That red zone conversion rate is something that I always harp on with this team, and they absolutely executed with their game plan. They were in Trevor Lawrence's face all game long. They didn't allow him to run outside of the pocket and extend the play a lot. They nulled the RPOs, everything they were trying to do in trick-wise, and they nulled it right in the mouth. So without a doubt, for me, it's Jack Del Rio and his game planning and his coaching staff. They absolutely killed it, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to remember my third one.
I think Jack Del Rio drinks beer. He totally drinks beer.
100%.
He definitely drinks beer.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
He definitely drinks Coors Light.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why are you saying that?
My third guy is that's what my third one was. It's the guy that was my defensive MVP for the day, Montez Sweat, like we talked about earlier. Had like 5 pressures, multiple hits on the quarterback.
It was Daron Payne.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
Daron Payne. My bad. Yeah, Daron Payne. Multiple hits on the quarterback, beasted out.
Pass deflections, getting his mitts
pass
up there.
deflection, had a sack, giving Brandon Sheriff that work all day
Woo!
long.
That was beautiful.
Welcome back, Brandon. Daron Payne was my third.
That was fantastic. Let's move on to our fan questions. Reed, this one's from the Colonel who texted me this. Federi Mathis replaced our departed interior linemen in Tim Settle and Matt Ioannidis. Suddenly, we are very thin at the position. Are we going to be finding another tackle? And is there anyone you have in mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a few guys out there. I mean, obviously, you look at like people like Ndamukong and Sue come to mind. I don't think they would end up coming here, but like Kyle, I think you've mentioned him a few times this offseason. Starla Tulele, he's somebody who he has experience with Rivera in Carolina, and he's had success in this league. He's big. He would be a fantastic rotational defensive lineman. He's good against the run, so I would like to see them bring in a veteran like that.
Yeah, it's somebody I love the name of Starla Tulele just because you know that when you bring him in, he knows exactly what you're kind of doing as an offense and a system and game planning. So there's not much of coaching up having to do. And it's not like this is somebody that you're bringing in to start right away. This is just for depth reasons, and that's why I love that kind of veteran presence. But in the same breath, I think Ndamukong Suh, if he's still available, I think that's somebody that could be cheap. You could go out and plug, and if Ndamukong Suh signs here, that generally means that he believes in you. He thinks you're a good team. I don't think he's the greatest person in the world. Maybe like we're all kind of animals on the football field, but you need that type of tenacity, type of attitude on your defense and on your football team to be able to inflict your will on somebody. So I'd be intrigued by Ndamukong Suh. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, when I looked at the names earlier, just texting back and forth with somebody earlier, he was the first one that popped out in the list of names, but then I started thinking about, like, would he be okay being like the third guy behind two young guys like that, just because he's Ndamukong Suh. He's been a force in this league. He's Super Bowl champion. So I just feel like his ego might come into play, just getting like lesser snaps than like the younger guys, and that he thinks that he's better than still. So my second guy came to mind obviously was Star Loop. Yeah, Star. Yeah, just because, like you said, he's an ex-Panther, ex-Bill. He knows Ron Rivera, Sean McDermott, that same defensive system and what they would expect of him from a coaching staff standpoint. And the third one was Linval, a.k.a. Lintball Joseph, just because that is a massive human being. And I feel like he would be a pretty good run stopper for us when we're facing a lot of run-dominant teams coming up this season. So Lintball Joseph would be my 1A to Star loop-de-loop.
Yeah, there's also Sheldon Richardson as well.
Oh, that's a good one.
Didn't they sign somebody though that like?
Yeah, they did. Heard of? They just signed somebody today. I'm sorry. He's from Michigan actually. Something green, if I'm not mistaken. Now this next question from the Discord chat server is from our guy Hefe Miles. He said yesterday was a roller coaster. Wentz had good and bad moments. At the end of the day, he didn't give up and came through for us. But stats, 4 touchdowns puts him in a comfortable position to possibly hit 30 at the end of the season. But do those 2 interceptions also put him in a position for a higher number of interceptions than usual, Reed?
I would hope not. I think it was just Carson, getting the demons off, getting the monkey off of his back. Carson has those games where he doesn't necessarily throw a lot of interceptions, as we always joke about. He always seems to throw 7 per year. But he will make decisions where he throws the ball and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? So I don't necessarily, maybe he'll throw a little bit more. Maybe he'll throw something like 9, possibly 10, but either way, I mean, that's still good. And yeah, he's second in the league right now in touchdown passes, only behind Patrick Mahomes. So I think Carson's in a good position. I think once he can cut down on those terrible throws, he'll be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said this for a while now that Carson Wentz is 27-7. I don't expect that to be reality for the Commanders. I feel like those interceptions were going to be escalated and accelerated a little bit higher because this is a new system where in Indianapolis, Frank Reich, that was a system that he was already known with, right? He was comfortable with. This is a new one, so it's kind of expected that he's going to have hiccups. So you should expect it to have a higher number because that 7 interceptions, that's ridiculous. It's like really hard for a quarterback to be able to do in this day and age with how much throwing that goes on. And so you should have expected that, but I think you're right about the touchdowns without a doubt. Carson Wentz, 27 of 41, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 6 rushes for 12 yards.
And a game ball from Coach
Look,
Rivera.
I know he had 2 interceptions, but I will say this. I rewatched the film today. He was superb. Nothing short of superb. Nothing short. Hall?
Yeah, I don't think it really affects either way, honestly, because if you look at Carson's like history of like interceptions, like you said, he pretty much averages 27-7, but he'll also have games where he throws 4 touchdowns. He'll also have a couple game stretch where he'll only throw like 1 touchdown per game. or he might not throw any touchdowns. He might throw a pick, or he might go through a stretch of 5-6 weeks without throwing a pick. Then he'll throw 2 more. So it's not like he's like they don't really come in bunches. I'm trying to say as far as like touchdowns or interceptions, it's kind of spread
not
evenly
a weekly
out.
thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and also I feel like once Brian Robinson comes back in week 5, they're going to start running the ball a little bit more, which is going to take away from.
Oh, he froze. No, you're absolutely right. The title of this episode is called The Fourth Round KO. And the reason why I say that is I felt like this was a boxing match between the Commanders and the Jaguars. The Commanders come out early. They punch them twice. They get them early. They somehow find their way back. And then in that fourth quarter, Wentz throws that second interception. That's like where the Jaguars have us on the rope, right? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here come the Commanders. They get a quick right jab. They come back with a left hook. And then they finish with a right kind of hook on the right side where they just punish the Jaguars and put them on the dirt. I absolutely loved what this team did yesterday because I said this to Jason Wright. When you have a team that believes they always have a chance, regardless of what the storm is, beautiful things can happen. And you've seen that with like kind of like the Nationals in their run and the Capitals as well. When you kind of have that belief, and that's not something that this offense, this team has had for a very, very long time. And so I think that they're ahead of schedule, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because I wasn't expecting this type of performance. But what they did to come back in that game, that was inspiring to say the least.
And I will say, last time we put up 28 points in week 1 was 2018. We started off 6-4, but then Alex Smith broke his leg and almost died. So let's not repeat that.
Yeah, let's not.
I will say it's also it's amazing what a quarterback with a legit arm can do for your team when they have wide receiver talent like this. Like Carson Wentz, you can just tell the threat of him being able to throw the ball further downfield.
What do you mean? Taylor can do this with all these weapons too.
Taylor's going to be making the Hall of Fame. I've already got his measurements for his gold jacket. But
now let's go rapid fire, boys. Got a couple more questions here. This one from Commander OC, who has 2 great ones for us. Reed, I'll go to you first. I noticed yesterday Fuller was getting smoked on certain plays. Davis had to be put on Kirk late in the game. Do we have speed issues at cornerback?
Ooh, that's good. I don't think so. I mean, if you look at Benjamin St. Juste, William Jackson III, they're both fast guys. I mean, if you look at their 40 times, Kendall Fuller, I know he's getting a little long in the tooth, as they say. I don't think he necessarily has speed issues, but I do think that this has got to be something that they improve on because you can't be getting burned by Zay Jones and these guys.
Look, you can always get faster, right? And that comes at a price where if you were to get somebody who's faster, are they going to be as smart as Kendall Fuller and know where to be in position and stuff like that? So, yes, you could always get better with speed. But with this defensive back group, I don't think it's speed. I think it's trust and confidence. In that one deep ball that happened to Christian Kirk, Kendall almost takes like a stutter step before he actually goes and starts chasing Christian Kirk, where he puts himself a step behind him where there's no chance on the ball. Whereas Kendall's playing confidently like he did in the Chiefs game when he was coming around the field, hit that ball away in the end zone. That's what you kind of expect out of Kendall, but you didn't see that on that play. So I feel like it has more to do with confidence, instincts, and vision, and I think that will happen throughout the season. And Kendall does generally play better later on in the season, but I'm not ready to jump ship yet on our defensive backs. I think that they were put in a tough position yesterday, without a doubt. Hall?
Yeah, I just think it goes to I don't think it's like a speed thing because, like you said, William Jackson's a pretty fast guy. Benjamin St. Juste is a pretty fast guy. I just think it's more of like the scheme and the way that they're getting spread out and kind of the personnel that's on the field at the time. And a good offensive coordinator is going to take advantage of the mismatches on the field with the personnel that he has matched up against the defense. So I would say it's probably like 75% the scheme that they're playing the defense in, or maybe like 60% of the scheme that Del Rio's putting them in, and 40% of the offensive coordinator or Doug Peterson for the Jaguars. It's like, if I spread them out, I'm going to get a linebacker on a slot guy, or I'm going to get a safety on a running back, something like that. Pretty much a mismatch in their favor. So it's just it's a chess match out there. You just got to know when to take your chances and when not to.
Yeah, and Bobby McCain went out right before that play. And I remember telling you, they're going to try him deep now. Bobby McCain just went out. They're going to flex you deep, regardless if Bobby McCain is out there or not. I put on Twitter, I thought that it was actually Jeremy Reeves who was on the field. It was Bobby McCain. I think that it was Bobby McCain's fault. It looked like a cover 2 kind of defense, and there was nobody over top for Kendall. And so I want to blame Kendall. I think a lot of us are going to pick up on his play, but they were kind of put in a bad position. But on that play, on particular to Christian Kirk, felt like maybe there was supposed to be safety help over top, and it wasn't there for Kendall. But he does have to get better. Now, the next question from Commander OC, which is a fantastic one. I absolutely love this one, Hall. Do you think the coaching change for the defensive line changed your perspective of the unit as they played on the field? Or do you think there isn't enough evidence to change your mind just yet?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough evidence to change my mind just yet, but I will say that, and we had Nick on, he mentioned the clip that he put on Twitter with Montez Sweat using the dead arm that Ryan Kerrigan just used and loved so much. So I definitely think that I'm not going to say that the Sam Mills getting fired like had an influence either way on their play, but I will say that Ryan Kerrigan, I do think had a pretty nice influence and impact on that game and on that defensive line and he will going forward.
Yeah, I definitely do, without a doubt. Just based off watching the film, the way that they executed the contain on Trevor Lawrence, the way that they were able to consistently bring pressure on those crucial third and second downs where they were able to get to Trevor Lawrence with only 4 rushers, I think does pay dividends to what they are believing in because they are on track here. You're seeing progress. This isn't what you saw in the preseason. This isn't what you saw last season. And this is a good unit up front for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've invested heavily into repairing their offensive line, and Doug Peterson's no slouch of a play caller, but this defensive line, this unit, they went hardcore after Trevor Lawrence, and they were constantly in his face and containing him in that pocket. You never saw him move out of it. So, and I go where the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And the defensive line looked the best I've seen them look since 2020. That's yesterday, and I think a lot of it has to do with Ryan Kerrigan because that's when the last time Ryan Kerrigan was in this building.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I mean, it's kind of evidence based off of what they did last year. I mean, they played better yesterday than they did at any point really last year when it comes to applying pressure. So I think, yeah, I think it should be a big improvement.
Yep. And now read this next question for you is from Mike Puckett. This is what we all wanted to see with Gibson. The game he played yesterday is why he was drafted. What was the biggest change or adjustment he made to progress the way he played Sunday?
I think the biggest thing for Gibson yesterday was putting all this noise behind him and just go out there and playing his game. I mean, I think Scott Turner did a good job scheming him up and putting him in the positions to make plays and getting open downfield. Like Kyle, you mentioned that catch that he had early on in the first quarter on the sideline to put us in good field position was huge. And you really just got to see the entire Antonio Gibson arsenal, except for breaking away on a huge run off of a screen or off of a bounce outside or something. But other than that, man, Antonio Gibson played fantastic, and you really got to credit him for putting the noise aside.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he was holding on to the ball very strongly. There was one run late in the fourth quarter. We're going down for that last touchdown, and Antonio is running the ball, and he's like turning as he's falling. Another guy comes up and hits the crap out of his shoulder, and that's when I was like, that ball's going to pop out. If it's ever going to, it's going to right now. And he just went to the ground and held on to it. So I definitely feel like he's made the adjustments and holding on to the ball, and that paid dividends because we needed it yesterday. And so Antonio Gibson, I think, built trust in himself, also built trust with the fan base and the coaching staff, and being able to hold that ball in crucial situations.
Yeah, I just think he was he was focused on just getting the ball, getting the handoff, hitting his points as far as like the running back steps, and just getting north and south and not worrying about like, let me make this guy miss or let me hit a spin move or a juke move in the hole. Or I think he was just worried about hold on to the football and go north and south, and definitely showed yesterday. And as far as him being used in the offense, I think that has to do with all the weapons that we have now, like everyone being healthy for the most part, and just being able to have a guy like Terry, Jahan, and Curtis Samuel out there, that just frees up a mismatch. Like AG against a linebacker, that's a mismatch all day. AG against a safety, honestly, that's probably a mismatch as well for us all day. So I just think that Scott finally has all the weapons at his arsenal to kind of spread people out, see what mismatches he has, and he has a quarterback that can make the throws necessary to get him the ball in open space. So I think all that factored into AG having a bounce back year as far as looking like his 2020 version.
Yeah, and this next question, let's go rapid fire, boys, from our guy, Big Tony Shivers, who was just on the pod with us last week. His question is, or he says, mentioned Forrest on the pod. He definitely delivered. When Curl is healthy, how do you see the defense utilizing Forrest?
I think that they're going to find a role for him no matter what. I know that they don't have the Buffalo position anymore. Well, they do, but they don't use it exclusively. Benjamin St. Juice is kind of in his own role where he's a slot/linebacker hybrid type safety. But there's a reason why they kept so many safeties. They like Derek Forrest, I think, and they're going to find a way to get him on the field as often as possible.
Absolutely. And when Curl comes back, I could definitely see them being more comfortable in using Derek Forrest, meaning that they can bring Bobby McCain down to play that slot corner in some situations, allow Derek to play free and have Curl at strong safety, right? And so Derek Forrest's game
shines.
Yeah, Derek Forrest's game where he showed in all aspects in coverage and tackling and hitting, and then playmaking as well to finish that game with a toe tap. Absolutely perfect game. I think that built a heck of a ton of confidence with this coaching staff. Let's just see if he can be consistent with it. And I truly believe in this young man in Derek Forrest, because what I saw in film when he came out of Cincinnati, he was a pure free safety, and that coming up and hitting and tackling, that's something that he has progressed on and worked on. So if he can be an all-around player, he could be a damn good player, man.
Yeah, I think that they can flip-flop what they do with McCain and Forrest as far as like free safety, strong safety. Obviously, Bobby McCain, like you said, has experience playing the slot corner. He's a free safety as well. He has like pretty good range. He can come up and play inside the box a little bit as well. Obviously, we just saw what Derek Forrest can do. You talked about coming out of Cincinnati. He had that free safety range. Now he can play kind of that strong safety role kind of in the box and that intermediate to like a line of scrimmage type stuff. That opens it up everything for Cam Curl to kind of get back to that Buffalo nickel role, be around the line of scrimmage, blitzing off the edge, making tackles in the run game, filling the run gaps. So I definitely think that the safety room is for a lot of people that were talking about the safety room needs to be upgraded a little bit, or they need to make some adjustments. This coaching staff saw what they saw in Derek Forrest all off season, and they were pretty confident what they had going forward. And I definitely see what they saw going forward. And I think our secondary, if we can get everyone fully healthy on the back ends as far as like our safeties go, I think that it'll definitely help out the guys on the outside as well.
Yeah, and I previewed that play. I did a film breakdown of the entire game. I uploaded it on Twitter. So just search for me on Twitter at the Burgundy Zone if you want to be able to see a full breakdown of a bunch of the plays that happened. But that Derek Forrest play where he knocked the ball out, that was a fumble for Travis Etienne. When you watch the replay, Derek Forrest is at the strong safety spot in a quarters coverage. When he sees Travis Etienne leave, he instinctually knows that's a flat route, and he immediately beeline towards the sideline. That time, that decision, that instinct allowed him to be able to have the speed and power to knock that ball out, which shows you that that is a professional athlete where the mind is linking up with the body, and usually great things come from that. Absolutely beautiful. But the last question that we have, Scott Hartley from the UK, who we just saw this weekend, who's probably on a plane right now back to the UK. He had the same question similar to Tony before about the Starlo Tulele and Ndamukong Suh, who we should bring back here, defensive tackle. So I'm sorry, Scott, you asked a similar question to somebody else. But Andy Lockhart, Scouse Andy, who is also here, his question is, my God, Kyle, just been watching the game again. Dotson's route running is elite. He's going to be smoking quarterbacks on the daily. His question is, where was Reed to enjoy this?
I was I had a wedding, man. I was out of state, and I was for the entire weekend. So then Friday sucked because then babysitter faked, so I couldn't go on the FedEx field trip. And then as soon as we were getting ready to go, we only have one car, and Lindsay was like, well, you're gonna be gone all weekend, we gotta go by the store. And I was like, shit, that's right. So we go by the store, get them everything. The time we got back, it's close to, at that point it was like close to 10. And I was like, I can't get up to DC. I have to leave at 7 a.m. to go up to the wedding. And I was there, I had to get a hotel, then I had to listen to the game on the way home. And so that was frustrating as hell. You guys should have stayed another day, use the Queen's funeral as an excuse. Came by here and St. Old Daddy.
They
all
missed
12
you, man.
of you in my
They
house.
missed you.
I know.
We had an absolute great time on Friday night down in DC. I stayed out very late. I got in trouble with my wife, of course. But we just played pool, dude, and it was a lot of fun. Andy, obviously Burrows is fantastic at pool. Great
I bet
pool
he
player.
is.
Yeah, we wiped the floor with everybody when he was there. Jesse was
Did you
out
win
there.
money? Did you win money?
No, we didn't do anything like that.
Oh, you Bama.
Yeah, but it was absolutely great. Scouse Andy, both Andys, Scott Hartley. It was so awesome to hang out with them this weekend, to experience the game with them yesterday, for that win to happen. We were tailgating with them. It's just a lot of things happened yesterday, and it's really cool to see the future is finally here. Because
I'm so super happy that they didn't come here for a loss.
Yeah.
I'm super happy that they got to see a win. That would have sucked.
But they will. The UK will be back here in week 17. All right, everybody. That's
Really?
going to wrap us up for this reaction show. The 4th round KO. The Commanders start out 1-0, facing the Detroit Lions this coming Sunday. Let me hear what your thoughts. What are your position grades? Who is an unsung hero? Who's getting your game beer? Who's somebody that deserves it? We want to hear from you guys in the comment section. We love you guys. All right, I'm Kyle.
I correctly predicted that Curtis Samuel would score the first touchdown.
You did.
And I'm also Hall.
Yeah, no, I correctly predicted that Samuel would score the first touchdown. I'm also Hall.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on Friday. Be safe this week. Have fun. It's a victory week, but now it's time to move on to the Detroit Lions. Appreciate everybody. Washington football. Woo!
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!